Good afternoon, everyone. July 12th today, right in the middle of the summer. I hope you enjoyed your summer barbecues, July 4th parties and gatherings. Want to really focus now at the prime peak period of our sales activity and our real estate business. Summer season is a great time to continue to put your efforts out there, continue to talk real estate with others because there's so many people who are getting conflicting information. So I appreciate you all being here today, spending another hour with me, covering a lot of different things regarding real estate. And I know there's a lot of uncertainty in this market, so I hope I can shed a little bit of light from a broker perspective on things. So I know, Yoko, you had a good question you wanted to ask me regarding online valuations of properties. Can you repeat your question, Yoko? Yoko, are you here?
Yes, that's the thing. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Hello?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, good. When I see the Zillow or Redfin, they have those views, number of the views, and then also likes or saved and opt out. All those number is if how it is relatable to the actual sales or actual market, marketability. That is my question.
That's a great question, and that's manyfold regarding how does a company or an online valuation tool put out these numbers out there. And let me start with the beginning first, and then we can go into the answer. There are many realtors out there, buyers, sellers, everyone looking at numerous websites who take data. Okay, they take actual comps, sales statistics, recent sales, trends up and down, and they take they all build their own unique algorithm. An algorithm is a formula which they put in some key metrics, statistics. They put weighted, concentrated averages towards specific things such as recent sales nearby, price per square foot, land value, lot size, as well as sales activity, number of people that put a favorite, like a heart or a like on that property, the number of clicks and views. Maybe if it has a very high click rate, that adds a 3% weight towards their final valuation model. Now, each of them have their own unique, like I said, algorithm. So each of them can put their own weighted averages differently. Okay, so there's no one size fits all that meets every single thing because they can't factor every single component. Number one, they're missing is the condition, okay, of the property. So they're not accurate. And they do not know anything details regarding improvements to the property. Okay, and they're also basing everything on county records. So I'll start with some of the shortfalls too, because they don't factor in a lot of these things like having a Viking appliance and a full, in the kitchen versus a standard, GE or a Maytag or Samsung. So they don't include all of those details that you and I will know has a very significant difference. A GE refrigerator might cost $1,000, $1,500. A Viking refrigerator will cost you $15,000. So when you add a lot of different components, interior defects or improvements, none of that is calculated in the whole valuation model. Now, when you ask, now that we understand, there are some other shortfalls that they don't understand. So they're not going to understand what's called motivation of a seller. So when a very motivated seller, for example, let's say someone who's in notice of default, if their home is worth $1 million right here, and you and I can agree, let's say it's worth $1 million, they might price it at 900,000. So once it hits MLS, your property, your MLS, CRMLS, which is very powerful, will spread it to hundreds and thousands of different types of websites as an IDX feed, It gets pulled data and sends all the data that the listing agent inputs, and it will put it into a public model. And let me give you an example of what we do. So if I'm in any of my listings, okay, and I'll just pick one of my listings right now. I believe this is where I can find one of my listings. Okay, so I'll just pick any listing right now we have on the market. So let's go ahead and pick, Julia's here in the office today in the class. So I'll pick her listing right here in Baldwin Park. Okay. Don't forget, I'll give you the answer later in a little bit. Every A-listing agent has the ability to go over to the Office MLS portion here and look at this box right here. You guys see that? Now, if you put yes, 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 okay, it will do exactly as you say. Most of the people opt in because they want their listing broadcasted, syndicated everywhere. So if you click yes here, that means your listing, you approve your listing to be displayed everywhere. Coldwell Banker, Remax sites, Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com. Anyway, you name it, homes.com, it goes there. If you allow the address to be displayed, it will also share it with the address, physical address. Now, this is the component that lets companies give automated valuation. So this is important because if you are a seller, maybe it works in your favor, maybe it does not, to allow them to automatic value your property. So if you want those algorithms that each of their own companies to go ahead and use, you can click yes. If you don't want them to put it on there, you can put no. And in this instance, the MLS will share the listing, it'll share the address, but Zillow and Redfin and all these tools, Realtor.com, cannot give a computer algorithmic valuation of the property. So you have to use it to your understanding of what do you believe. Let me tell you a reason why you may not want to automatic value the property. Number one, maybe before listing the property, you check all the normal websites like Zillow and Redfin, and you will see, does this valuation hurt you? If you're a listing agent and you see that they're giving a low valuation, you may not want to display this, okay? That's one reason. If you have a property that has very small square footage or unpermitted areas that are not recorded, like let's say a discrepancy in your square footage. Let's say you have a 2,000 square foot structure, but on the MLS or on the county data records, it only shows 1,500. It's going to give you a low valuation. And maybe you do have permits, but those aren't county data updated, on their files. So that's another example where you will have a low valuation. So you might want to choose, maybe I don't want them to evaluate my property because I actually have 2,000 square feet. I want them to understand and price my property based on comps of 2,000 square feet, not 1,500 square foot homes that Zillow or Redfin thinks. So that's another area to check prior to listing your property. Now, let's take Julia's listing right here at 1318 Alpine Circle, for example. And I'm going to go ahead and type that address into a couple of different sections. Okay, first I'll go to Redfin right here. And her listing is $898,000 for this lovely newer construction and unit condominium. Okay, now their Redfin estimate is $892. That's very close to what her asking price is. So it's pretty accurate from what they're saying here. The only problem is it hasn't sold it hasn't sold yet. And this is not a problem with Julia. Julie did a great job on this listing. This owner happens to have a higher goal for the sales price. But I want to show you one thing right here too. When you check on these websites, you can see sales and tax history. You can kind of see different cool stuff on these websites. So I can see how a lot of people check Realtor.com, Zillow, and Redfin. Okay. And this is Realtor.com right now. And you can see here, Realtor.com has their own valuation tool, and they price it right here using their analytics, but their estimate is 889,000. Okay, so this is a situation where it's also just kind of matching the asking price, and that is a big indicator that's called a strong weighted average. Is the asking price. Every like Redfin and Zillow, you'll see them have one advertised price prior to hitting the MLS. And once you hit the MLS, it's gonna jump very much closer towards whatever it is that your asking price is. I know that's one of their models. So you can do stuff like looking at a couple of models for 1319, 1318, 1307. These are also online estimates, okay? And obviously they're basing a lot of it on the square footage, okay? Now, the same property, I bet you, and I haven't even looked at Zillow yet, Zillow's model will probably be higher, okay? And I'm gonna allude and share to you why. See, Z estimate says 906, over asking. Okay, so this is a trend you will see consistently across any property because of their own unique algorithm. So let's share and explain why. Okay, so just giving you that as one example. Zillow follows their own forecasts. Every company like Redfin or big major company on these online companies models create their own 2022 forecast from now to the end of the year for the next couple of years. And they have a model that they follow based on tracks and trends. And I've already shared with you the Zillow Redfin forecast changes 3 months ago, where at the beginning of the year, Zillow forecasted a 14% year-over-year increase in home ownership values, home values. Very quickly in April, May, that's a very aggressive figure, 14% year-over-year increase. They conservatively brought down their estimate down closer towards 4 to 6%. And I want to show you, like I showed you in my past classes, where to find this. Okay, so they were very aggressive at the beginning of the year. Now they are kind of, they're just kind of what you call bringing it closer towards aligning towards what it is that they believe. So I want to show you where they do Z estimates right here. So you can see how they use various numbers. Like for Houston, they'll give a different standard of deviation. They have different things going on, and we'll talk about California. They use this model for California, and they have a very wide standard deviation. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to show to you is where I could find the Zillow research tools. So go to here called Zillow Research. They take the mortgage climate, the interest rates, and they do a lot of different numbers to really just help, I guess, consumers understand what's going on in the market. So I think I want to go into market reports. And then I believe they do the forecast as of May is the most recent one. Okay. And you can compare this to their January model, but they forecast, Zillow forecasts 11.6 home value growth from May to 2023, which 11% is still very high compared to 14.9% that they had back in March. Okay, so they slimmed down their forecast, and you can even go into a next website called Redfin.com, like for example. And then I want to go into their research tools. And I want to, maybe it's easier if I Redfin.com research forecast. So once I touch that in, I can see what their most rents rise 14% in June. And I want to get the forecast.
Calvin, I cannot see the screen.
You can't see it? Okay, let me get back in. Thank you. So I typed in Redfin.com research forecast. And so California's Redfin model is, this is their Redfin 2022 market predictions. Okay. And I guess they last did this back in November of 2021. So they were predicting mortgage rates will rise to 3.6. Guess how wrong they are. By the end of 2022, see how wrong they were? They, right now, interest rates are floating above 6%. Okay. And so they were, you know, they said it's going to jump by the end of 23 to 3.6. So you can see how all these forecasts are so inaccurate. Prediction number 2, new listings will hit a 10-year high. Yeah, we're actually hitting a high new listings. I think the rents will increase by 7%. Somewhere else, the Reddit Zillow says it was increasing to 14% for year-over-year rental rates. And so you can see people will vote. Okay, anyway, we'll talk about California stuff. So you can see there's some interesting things, like you can go, you know, this is old news, but I like the most recent article where they find and track here that rents increased 14% in June. Okay, so it's getting expensive, and homeownership and cost of living is very high in California. Fastest rising rents, Ohio, all these are, like, you know, becoming, you know, Texas. These are all seeing where there's spiking in property rental rates. And to me, let's talk about one thing really quick. So when we're talking about how they figure this and factor this, the longer days on market on the property, it will have a negative effect and impact against the home online estimate. It will. The other thing is, when you talk about how to compare what's going on in the market, let's just take a look at one example that I don't think many of you have done. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a CMA. Does anyone want to do a CMA on a property that you're working on? If not, I'll just pick any property. I'll use Julia's example in Baldwin Park as an example. 1318 Alpine Circle, Baldwin Park. Okay. Do you see the MLS right now screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. So hers is larger than 1,600 and in 3+ bedrooms. This is Julia's listing in Baldwin Park. Now, I can see from the map that I'm going to use all of Baldwin Park because I'm not really going to do a specific CMA for this one, but I'm going to show you what I could do. Okay, I have how many solds? I have good enough data to work with. Yes. So for Julia's, which is 4 bedrooms, I kind of just want to use 4 bedrooms. Let's say I want to just do that. Okay. So 4+ bedrooms in Baldwin Park, and that's going to reduce my results. Now, what I'm going to show you is what I actually do in my own cloud CMAs. Okay. So I'm going to pick all the comps and closings, and I'm going to do I just select all because I want to show you what it looks like and what is a nice tool to talk to sellers and owners. Okay. So sample new test.
Kevin, can you print out when you finish this? I need that. Tomorrow I will go into seller. It's going to.
This is not going to be your specific. I'm just picking everything. 13 Alpine. Is it 1318 Alpine Circle? I don't know why it's not giving me Alpine Circle. Okay, so it doesn't really matter what's its address here. I'm going to show you one tool that I don't think you guys ever used before. It's called the Zillow Online-Valuation Analysis CMA sheet. So let's say I'm pricing this property and I have to tell the owner, your home to me is worth $875,000 to $898,000. Don't worry, I just threw this in because I do believe that's around the value. And I'm going to customize my report. Now, what I like to do is show you that there's different analysis to show. I'm not going to go through the listing, so I'm going to take this part out. Because I don't want all that information. But I do want there's this, let me see here. Online valuation analysis. So click that one in here because that's the one I want to show you. And let's go ahead and print this report. So after customizing my CMA for my client, I pretend that I've already narrowed down all of Baldwin Park down to the most comparable to her subject property. And I'll pick the closest ones, the newer ones, the ones that have closer towards 1,800 square feet, blah, 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 blah. But I want to show, because Yoko had a great question here. I want to show you what we can use to help educate our clients who have a property here in Baldwin Park. Okay. There's one right here at 1212 Alpine Circle, number 9. That's probably very close. And here's Julia's at here, subject property number 24. You can get a summary, and these will tell you that all the sold listings, here's what they sold for in Baldwin Park. All of these are 4 bedrooms. You have some 2022 ones that are selling. So there's some newer ones built in here, as well as some older ones. Obviously, I want to use newer ones for Julia's example because hers is built 2019, with a large 2144 square feet. Okay, so a lot of data here, a lot of cool stuff. And you can see there's number of listings, 17 sold, and out of those sold, 432 per square foot. Okay, and on average, it's taking 29 days to sell. That's very high. But if she has 2,100 square feet and using the average, her home should sell for 907,000, which is where she is priced right. Okay, so the number of active listings, okay, they're asking 438, and typically active listings tend to be greater square footage cost than those solds. Solds tend to be sold a little bit lower than they asking. Now, this is the page here that talks about valuation analyses. Okay, I want to point one thing out because Yoko said, why is Z estimates? How do they formulate their valuations? And I will tell you, like I've said, it's across the board. Consistently, you can show you the Zillow Z estimate is usually greater than the actual market. Okay, because the market, the sold price, when it comes to sold, this is the best offer. This is the best buyer. They are recently closed in the last 180 days. And you look at the Z estimates difference. You can see here in Nubia Street, Zillow had a 2.8% greater estimate than the actual market. Okay, and same thing here, Cloverside. They priced it at 918. Z estimate is sold for 893. For the most part, generally speaking, you can see here the Z estimate is always greater than the market. The only one example here is Delton Drive, where it shows a negative. So it just closed and they modeled at 6.8 and it closed for $1,200 greater than the Z estimate. So that's not really that significant. This is basically asking price. Everywhere else, the sales price is much lower than the Z estimate. We can also see that it's true because all of the active listings are 875 Z estimate. They're only asking 849. 810, they're only asking 795. So across the model, if your price, asking price as a listing agent is greater than the Z estimate, and there is not a unique thing like unpermitted square footage or things that you're not factoring like Viking appliances, maybe you have a pool, maybe you have some improvements that they don't understand, as long as those conditions are not met and you don't have those weird variables that you have to price in, it's called an adjustment, then I'm telling you, your price is too high. If you are greater than the Z estimate as the asking price, you're probably too high. Because everywhere across the board, these active listings have not sold and they are all under the Z estimate. Okay, so when it comes to the original list price to the sales price, okay, you can see here, many of these are from earlier, prior to May sales. So you have some sales that close really quickly at 110% above asking price. So yeah, there's a few of those. But if I shorten them just from April and May and below and afterwards, I bet you a lot of them will show more towards like 3 weeks on the market or greater. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Like I said, using this, it's about 432 a square foot. You have some people buying at 307 a square foot. Okay, but I think it's important to understand how to use these tools for or against you. In this example here, you can see Valley Vista and Alpine Circle do not have a Z estimate display. That's interesting because I thought we just saw it. Let me go to Zillow. Any questions on it while I wait for this to pull up? Okay, so let's go ahead and pull up Alpine Circle. I'm sorry, guys, I got disconnected real quick. You guys still there? So I was pulling up, yeah, her estimate is 906. Okay, so it's just interesting to see that these models are going to be wildly different for many different properties. And I had that same experience when I had a property at 614 Mountain, Pasadena. Okay. And when I typed in 614 Mountain, okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay now. I just changed my Wi-Fi to my hotspot. Now, when I go to share my screen, I wanted to show you what happened to my 614 Mountain, Pasadena. So the owner saw that Z estimate of this property is showing $1 million, right? And we sold this property on the market. I sold it just under 900,000. But how do they get this estimate? How do they get all this information here? Where are they basing this off of? And I can tell you that there's a lot of things going on in the background, but it's only 1,200 square foot. It's not a large lot. How can they value this from 947 to 1.13? The owner says this is crazy, but we still ended up selling this property. You know, all cash and this and this and that. Now, even Redfin is putting this at 1,027,000. That's very aggressive. Okay, so it's interesting because you can see how different. Right here, Redfin, the same property thinks it's 1,027,000, and then here in Zillow, they thought it was a 1.1 million and 3. That's $100,000 difference. Okay, so it will vary very greatly between one area to the next. And this is not a great area of North Pasadena. And I priced it even much more conservatively. I thought it was worth 900 vacant. Yeah, maybe. And that's what it sold for eventually. I hope you understand like the thinking and ideology behind using what's in your benefit, because I like to check it. I like to do my own CMA first. I analyze a property, I get to my value, and I get my own range. Okay. Then I like to cross-reference Zillow and Redfin to see how I did, see what and not necessarily to override my own research, because I trust my own research. I use it only to see what the owner thinks that they're going to get, what the owner has done, because owner did already price their property using the online tools. But don't forget, you have to take unique differences in consideration, like the materials and condition, like I talked to you about. So you can see here, the Z estimates are all very high, aggressive. I would always try to price it under the Z estimate because they're a little bit more aggressive than others. And I never use the realist profile. So if you look at 1318 Alpine Circle as another example, you'll find that the realist profile estimate is one of the worst. They have the widest standard deviation. So you can see here the real AVM range, it could be from 807 to 965. Okay, so they price it at 886. I mean, that's fair, but it's just a wide standard deviation. Okay, so any questions on valuating a property? Yoko, does that explain what you were asking me or no?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I see that zero is much higher than what I was putting on. So, but then number was so different. Yeah, from the zero
It can
to
vary.
30.
It varies from city to city because they could be putting a higher algorithmic weighted average in certain cities. Like I think they're giving it to Pasadena. And that's probably because the rental rates are very high in Pasadena too. So it has a higher weighted average versus Baldwin Park. Maybe that doesn't have a strong weighted average on rents.
Yeah, it's just a curiosity because the Redfin Zero, they have completely different number. That's why I was just wondering. And the Realtor.com too. So, but thank you.
So now I want to get into another portion. If there are any other questions on this. Okay, I want to get into a portion of what can I do as an agent to get new listings. We all know that there's a rise in inventory. Okay, do you guys see my screen with InfoSparks here? Yes or no? Do you guys see InfoSparks or no?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pick 4 local cities to all of us. Arcadia, Temple City, San Gabriel, Alhambra. Okay. And I want to show what's going on. Let's say it's easier to do it in the single family area to explain my story. But let's say I want to know and track all single families in these cities. Okay. Now there's going to be one thing that's important to track and understand. So now that I have my stuff here, I'm going to bring this up. You can see red represents Arcadia, blue represents Alhambra. And I want to show you what's going on in terms of new listings. Each of these cities have shown a slight rise in new listings. Okay. June is June, maybe not so much, but ever since the pandemic, which started here in 2020 and 21, you can see these levels are elevated as compared to a year ago. Okay. How do you read this? Arcadia has 59 listings in single families. Now, the other things to track is active listings. The active listings across the board, especially in Arcadia, is on an uptick, right? How many are going pending? Much less. So in the beginning in 2021, many homes were going pending, and all of a sudden you see a little bit of a drop off of pending sales. That's indicative of the rising rates, people being kind of discouraged or disappointed to see the monthly expense of the mortgage at the high rates. So not as many are going pending, despite a lot of active homes. Closed sales is also on a downward trend a little bit. It's up and down. It's kind of flat. We're getting the same amount of sales, but we're supposed to be getting summer to summer a lot more activity. And days on market. I look at here, the average days on market right now, you could see, especially Temple City. Wow, look at this one. It's climbing, okay? Single family homes are, maybe they priced it too high, but that's an outlier. So that's very strange to see average. I don't even know if I can trust that. Average days on market for Temple City is 82 days. I find that hard to believe. It's been very hot there. So I'm curious, unless this is including a few. You know what? This is Temple City. Watch. What happens if I put in Temple City schools? I'll show you how that changes. I use Temple City itself, which includes areas that have El Monte schools. When I choose school district of Temple City, wow, that's still very high, 73 days. Okay. I thought it would come back down a lot more, but no, it's not. There's probably a few listings active in Temple City that are really bringing this up. Price per square foot, I take a look at here, and most of the cities show a very upward trend in their price per square foot. So it is showing 10 to 14% year over year increases in the price per square foot. And when we're averaging month supply, we're floating around 2 months of inventory roughly, but we're starting to see our supply of listings slightly uptick from a very, very dry period right here. Okay. So that's healthy to have more listings. And you'll notice that a lot of homes are now starting to sell not so crazy over asking. You're seeing a lot more deals going through. Another thing that I look at, yes, there's been rises in sales prices because everything's more expensive, but look at showings per listing. It was very hot, January. A lot of showings were scheduled using showing time. But now, very few showings. There's very less activity going on in the buyer arena right now. A lot of sellers are saying, or listing agents are saying, I'm not getting a lot of activity. I'm not getting a lot of showings. What do I do? How do I get more activity? It's across the board. People don't want to buy 7% interest rates. It's really something that's indicative of the climate right now. But what I'm asking you to do is, now that you have all this information, now you see some trends over a rising days on market, rising interest, rising inventory. Let's do this one exercise, and I want to show you where we can get our next business. How many of you guys have ever worked in expired? Okay, so I want to show you how we can do this, okay? Because I know that every single time there's an expired listing, and let's say I want to work expired single family condo townhouses in Los Angeles County. Okay, and I want expired only within the last 45 days, maybe. Okay, then I'm going to pick some areas. Let's go ahead and pick the same areas: Arcadia, San Gabriel, Temple City, and Alhambra. Okay, I have 32 listings that have expired in the last 45 days. Okay, and so I could track them by the date, as you can see here, in descending order. I can see what they were willing to pay another agent. This agent that they were giving 3% here to the buyer's agent. Here they're giving 2.5%. So I already know now that this seller might be only willing to pay 4% for the listing. This seller might be willing to pay 6% listing to sell. Okay, so that gives me an idea of who I want to target, who's a more realistic seller, who's willing to, I won't have to have so much of a commission battle to fight on the 2.5+ people. They're willing to pay a nice commission. Then I look at a couple of different things, like what was their asking price? What was their price per square foot? So obviously this person over here on Greenfield was asking $1,270. That's very high. There has to be maybe an entitlement or some architectural plans. I don't know. I gotta read into each single one. But then I look at how long it's been on the market too. So this was listed for a very long time. This one was listed 100 days. You even have some listings that went expired in less than 1 day. That's very funny and fishy. Let's take a look. Here we have 2nd Street. This property went expired, and I want to read the remarks. Okay, they listed it on 9/4, and maybe they kept it on withdrawn or hold for a whole 9 months of time. And it does say it's currently occupied. Maybe it's a tenant issue. Maybe there's not some cooperation going on. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, this never really hit the market. It never had days on market for the public. It straight had a listing price, and eventually this expired. This might be a candidate of a seller that may be wanting to sell, but they didn't have a powerful enough agent to build that relationship with a tenant. Who knows? I don't know what the deal is. So what I do is try to contact and look at the profile report. This is what my steps that I would take if I really wanted to work an expired listing. I can find that there's a Mac Catalina who is the owner of this property, and their tax address matches their billing address. So that tells me this is probably owner occupied. It may not be rented out. And then I want to look at what their pricing, what their valuation is. They said 880. They were pricing at 850. That was reasonable. So let's say I wanted to find out what's going on. Here's all the steps that I could take. Number one, I can door knock this property. It's not listed on the market. So I will go ahead, knock the door since I'm nearby, bring a little bit of a analysis, bring my resume, bring some of my flyers and marketing materials, see if I can engage and talk to the owner. Maybe I'll use some InfoSpark statistics to show them what their home is worth. Second thing I would do, if I can't find them at home, because I personally like to do face-to-face conversation, but maybe you're afraid of during a pandemic, you don't want to door knock, or maybe you're dealing with the property in San Marino where you're not allowed to door knock. So if you can't door knock, or you don't want to, or you want to protect yourself, fine. Let me teach you another technique. Go ahead and go to this website here again. I'm going to show, I've shown you in the past, but I just want to make sure you guys are well aware. How do I find phone numbers? So I'll go ahead and jump into my screen, and you can see here when I type in fastpeoplesearch.com, I'll type in either a name or an address. In this situation, I have that information. So I'll go ahead and pick the Catalina Mac property profile. Who's living at 1819 2nd Street. So (1819) 2nd Street. Now I found it right here, number one address right here. So I could tell that this owner is 59 years old. They actually report an address in San Gabriel in Euclid, and they probably used to be in 2nd Street, or they have a relative or friend renting it out. And this is the best number to reach this Catalina Mac person. So I know who the relatives are. I can also see who's reporting this address to see if it's a tenant occupied property by clicking here. So searching just the address, there is a person named Huang Pham who currently reports their address at 1819 2nd Street, 64 years old. I don't know if it's a relative or a friend or a complete normal tenant, but this person reports and is probably residing on that property right now. Okay, I also have that tenant's phone number right here at my fingertips. And I also I have the past tenant right here. There's a Kyle that maybe used to live here a couple of years ago. And I have that's it. Okay. So if I really were to door knock now, I might want to door knock Euclid Avenue instead. Okay. And Euclid Avenue says that there is a Leslie Mac and Catalina Mac. Leslie happens to be 91 years old. Okay, they are a senior, and maybe she's moved over here to help her parents. I already have a story that I can understand what's going on, and I have Leslie's phone number here as 571. Okay. So everything makes sense. That's an easy target for you right now. Pick up the phone, door knock, go get yourself a listing, because maybe there is medical bills. Maybe this person needs money. Maybe they're not happy with their agent who never put it on the market or exposed it. Maybe that agent was not strong enough like you to have a good conversation to allow the tenant to let you have showings. I don't know what the deal is, but I'm just showing you where you can get your next deal. So that's just one. I can go to the next listing, and I just picked one of them right here on 2nd Street, but I could pick another one. Maybe I want to do an Arcadia home because maybe I want to go for the gusto. I want to try to get a $2 million property. I already have a couple of gripes. Okay. It never exposed on the market. They were asking 2 million, but their photos are just right here. Exterior. This is done by a cell phone photo. I can tell this is not a professional photo. I can see here that this agent is sounds like an REO agent, not very, maybe not very local to, or knowing our area, but they listed it all the way back in December. That's a peak period of time. They should have had many offers, but I can see here they're only offering $1 compensation. Okay, so this listing agent didn't do much with this. They weren't offering much. They didn't really they didn't even get started basically. But there's other people who really were exposed. So let's take a look at those. Okay, those are the ones that are 0 days on market. So there's probably a circumstance why they couldn't get exposure. But you look at a couple of areas of 90+ days on the market, that's very frequently common for most people. I like this person who has 3% commission. So let's say I wanted to get this property here on Del Mar to list. Let's see 1533 Del Mar looks vacant. It looks like it had 3 months on the market. Let's see what, when I click on the profile report, if you can see here, do you guys see there's a Phoebe and a Julian who own this property. Okay. And their tax address is different from this property. This is probably a rental property of theirs. So just looking at this is their photo, and they're using a widescreen angle on their camera, but it's not a high quality. Look at the photography, 90 whole days. And this is the best that they could do in terms of photography. They didn't really do a great job, because this is a great location, Del Mar and Valley. It's very hot. It's great for rental property and income home. 675,000 was their asking. This never went by this agent. So he had some time to work with it. He had a Supra combo on there, and anyway, didn't get it done from April to June 30th. Wasted this owner's time, and 3% didn't even incentivize any agents to bring them through. So what am I going to do? If you could see here on the profile report, I have Julian and Phoebe. Let's find them and their contact information, because they live here on Atlantic Boulevard. So I go back to my same searching tool, and I could do it another way. I'll show you the reverse way. I go by address. So the address section is 365 Atlantic number D. 365 Atlantic number D in Monterey Park, California. Do you guys see Fast People Search here? I see a couple of different names. Enrico, Francisco, Bishan. There's a lot of different things here. It might be Ming Hui Tan, but nothing matches what I'm looking for. So let's go back to the name search, is probably strongest. So if you go back to the name, Phoebe and Julian, let's start there. Let's go Julian. last name is Chen, and their property is 1533 Del Mar. In the city of San Gabriel. So I have a number here, Julian Chen, who's 85. I have a Milpitas one, Los Alamos. I don't think they ever lived here. Let me go ahead and go back to Julian's. Here we go. This is it. So unit K, yeah. So this Julian is 74 years old, and they kind of have a address in Eureka, Northern California, and they have a phone number here to reach, 626. That's very likely him. And then this person is married to someone named Phoebe. From here, I can easily just go to Phoebe, who is related, maybe they're a relative, who is reporting Del Mar as their current address, 71 years old. And then I would call this number here, or their wireless one right here, Metro PCS. I would look at one of these two. So you can see here how I use simple county data to find information on one person. If I can't reach the husband, I'll try the spouse. If I can't find one owner, I might try the relative. If I can, maybe I'll door knock the tenant. I don't know. I don't know until I find out, but that's why you want to focus on an area that you're familiar with, that you pass by often, somewhere maybe on the way home. And I'll tell you that do this as for fun. Pick one property a week, stop by, farm it, and go introduce yourself and give yourself that homework assignment. I want to meet myself and do at least 2 or 3 of these inquiries, stop by the property, introduce myself, give them some information, ask them, do they still want to sell? Because they haven't sold with you yet. And you can deliver something better, which is better marketing, better photography, better language description, better relationship or communication with the tenant who's been problematic to the sale. Maybe it was pricing. Maybe they need some recommendations that you can bring to help with the paint or the cleaning or any of the resources that we provide or you provide to your client to make sure it looks better this time around. Don't make the mistake that some of the past agents who wasted their time during the prime good selling season. Lastly, maybe it just takes a little bit of remodeling. Maybe it just takes a little bit of this and that just to get it up to where a buyer wants to move in ready, or at least looks pretty. There's a lot of things that you could do. So my last piece of advice is do this on a weekly basis. Pick 1 or 2 expireds every week. Stop by, introduce, get yourself into the business of talking to people. That's what we do. And it's a numbers game. The more you do, the better your results. And you can call, you can phone call if you want and set an appointment and share what you have to share. But if you're not doing this, how are you getting your next listing? Are you only relying on marketing of magnets and pencils and flyers and emails? Are you reaching out? Do you have a good enough referral source that you're talking to people to refer you business? Are you buying Zillow leads? No, I don't know what you're doing. I hope you are finding some, at least I want to teach you some free ways to go out and target some business. But keep in mind, this is the last component. There are other people talking and sending postcards to these expireds or calling them on their cell phone too. Just because I showed you how to do it doesn't mean someone else does not know how to do this too. There are companies out there who are going to say, hey, I noticed your expired listing. Can I help you? Don't be like the 90% of the realtors out there who have a very, what you call a script that is generic. The only way you're going to break through to some of these people is if you maybe show up in person and you show that you're a real neighbor and a real friendly, caring person. So you could demonstrate that live, or you come with a different script. So I'll teach you one last script to help you be different than the other realtors, the other 80 people that called them. If you see my screen here, I'm going to point down to you to one area here called Cal Hfa. So one of the things that I like to do is talk to the owner about financing. This market has changed, seller. You know that, I know that. Buyers right now are getting more than 6% quoted for larger than 6% 30-year financings. That's very, very detrimental for someone to pay you top dollar for your home. But I have one great strategy I want to share with you how I can do this differently than anyone else that you used. Recently, legislation in California has passed a large sum of money that will be granted to allow affordable housing for many homeowners in this region. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be hitting this point because I know you want to hit that price, and that agent wasn't able to get it done for you in the last 90 days. But here's what I'm going to do to promote your property to get that price or whatever we agree upon. And I'm going to introduce you to what's called the Cal Hfa Forgivable Builder Loan. What this does is it gives a buyer who's willing to, who's eligible and qualifies, and many borrowers are qualified for this program, it gives them 10% additional down payment assistance from the government of state of California to help them in their purchase. And these borrowers are very, very excited and happy, and they'll live with your terms of the contract, because who cares if they're paying your asking price? They're going to get 10% of that forgiven if they live there for 5 years. So I'm going to make sure we talk to a lot of these income eligible people to make sure that they can buy your property. They only have to come in with 10% down. They'll get 10% from California as a secondary lien that's forgiven when they live there 5 years. So I have some brochures available for you. I want to share this with you, that the Forgivable Equity Builder Loan is so cool. So this first-time home buyer is to encourage activity for borrowers and help them out with 10% of the purchase price. And it's got to be a single family, just like your property. And they give it, they basically give them a really interest-free rate. So all I need to do is have this home buyer take some education. They go to a classroom, 8 hours, and learn about the Cal Hfa property requirements. And then what they do is they go over to this income limit for LA County. 78,320 is the income limit. Many people are earning less than 78,000 as an individual. So that's cool. Secondly, I can go to the Cal Hfa Lookup Tool and show to you that the purchase price requirements is very favorable. So let me go to where the lookup tool is. Anyway, it had to be under, oh, here it is. So you could do Cal HFA. This lender will be a first mortgage and my home. So you have a first and a second all in one place. Or if you want to use a Fannie Mae Freddie Mac, like a FHA loan or a 10% conventional loan, you can also do that too. And I'll type in any property, let's just say 1318 Alpine Circle, Baldwin Park. Okay. And because this property falls in Baldwin Park in the city of LA, what can we find out from here? So they just need to have the average median income is 86,000. And so they will qualify for different programs. So they can, if their income is below 68,000, they even qualify for Home Ready, another program that's even better for low income households. So a lot of people fall under this category. There's a lot of people out there who have less than 86,000 income who can qualify for the 10% forgivable loan. How does this help you, seller? If they get 10% and I convince them and show them the plan forgiven, they only need basically maybe $67,000 to purchase your home. They'll get another 10% from Cal HFA that's forgiven for financing. So they would be able to purchase your property $675 full price, and they'll be happy to get 10% forgiven. So they're really going to be only buying this for technically like $610,000. A lot of borrowers will want to do that. It's sure the heck beats for them renting. So what I'm going to do is I'm dedicated. I'm going to go talk to a lot of people who are renting. I'm going to go talk to a lot of people who live in the same community, because there's a lot of people here in this unit. I'm going to go see if they want to buy. And I'll door knock personally every single unit here in 1533 Del Mar and all the neighbors. I'm going to find a buyer for you because I'm that committed to help you get this sold. Can we take a meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock? Set the appointment, talk to them, set them, and talk to them and explain more. I'll bring more materials to show you what it is and how easy it is to qualify. So if you sign the listing with me, this is an area that does qualify for this tool. And when they know that they can get 10% forgiven by taking a class 8 hours and simply living there for 5 years, many people will feel comfortable paying even over asking, because they can get this, they will be able to qualify, they're eligible, they're a first-time home buyer, and they're going to get this $67,000 forgiven. It's wiped out, interest free. So if you believe this, this is not me, this is me telling you this. You probably never learned this before, but I'm passionate about this because I want to help sellers get their property sold. They're just not aware of the strategies to help the buyers right now who are facing what they're looking at. Their lender is trying to make all the money. Their lender is just trying to charge them for the full 80, 90, 96.5% of the financing. So that way the lender gets paid on the full loan amount. But here, they're not familiar with this because they're disincentivized to show them this product. As a realtor, I'll be happy to show this product to everybody. So that way that they can give you top dollar for your home, and they'll knowing that it's 10% off. Okay, right? So that's the key. That's the strategy. I know how the intricacies about this. I'll put you in touch with I'll bring some materials over for you to understand. Please, let's take this appointment. If you don't want to work with me, that's fine. But let me show you the opportunity. Let me have one time to meet with you for 20, 30 minutes and go over this. And I'd love to be your next listing agent. Thank you. If you can deliver that, communicate.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gene, for staying to the end. I promise you, if you do this enough every single week, you will set yourself up with several appointments every week. And the good thing is there's lots of expires hitting the market from now to the rest of summer. So if you're hungry and you need to pay some bills and you need to go out there and maybe put some savings under your own belt because we're heading into a downturn, I highly advise you go out there and generate some business right now. Don't wait till you're underwater. Don't wait till you have a notice to default. Don't wait till your finances and your credit card bills are getting more and more high rates of interest. Because if you're just delaying this move, you're delaying your own success. And so I just want to let you know, I care. I want you to feel successful in this business. So this is a strategy that will help you. Okay. Any questions? All right, we've covered a little bit over an hour of training, so I'll stop the recording. Thank you all for being here. It was my pleasure, and I hope you can take some tidbits of today's class into incorporating your business to really overcome any fears of approaching a stranger or approaching an expired listing. Okay, you can do it. It's not that hard because you're coming in with passion, with care, compassion for the seller, from understanding and providing solution. Okay, you have a strategy that no one else is pitching when they're making this expired call. You can set yourself out to be different. All right, guys, take care.